about, how to build a CPG brand from scratch. So Encore and I had to come up with a game plan, a kind of a winning list of things. But it's going to be a free fall conversation. We're going to have a good, engaging conversation for the next 10, 15 minutes or so, if not more, on how to go from things. So, Encore, I want you to imagine you're building a brand from scratch, meaning you got, less than $500 in the bank and you want to get started, and you're starting off like you're in that garage. It's a rainy day and you want to like stop working for someone, maybe, and you just want to like change the world with your product. Walk us through the garage level. Like, what do you need about?
First of all, bro, $500 in the bank—that's a lot of money, man.
Is it?
When I started these brands, I had even less.
Okay.
In my pocket.
So garage level.
I think it's really important to figure out how you intend on making a difference in a consumer's life.
Okay.
Right. So if you're gonna make the new kombucha tea, you want to make sure what's gonna differentiate you from everyone else.
Right.
If you're there's hundreds of proteins. I mean, you walk into a GNC, a vitamin shop, you're going to see over 300-400 brands regularly stocked. What is it about your product that's going to be different?
Okay, so let's go to the testing part. So let's just say, and this happens to many entrepreneurs, you get product heavy, or you get, hey, I have five products I want to launch off the top. How do you determine which one or two at most to launch with?
Okay, pure straight up advice for anyone listening: only launch one product.
Okay, one product. There you go.
Don't get ahead of yourself. You need to get some traction.
So you first launched Fat Burner, correct?
Correct.
Why did you pick Fat Burner? With shreds, at least.
My partner had come across a formula, and he found out that the formula worked for him, and he wanted to see, who else would be someone that we could help with that formula.
Okay, that makes sense. So launching one product to start off with. Now, the next part is, unless you're being a nonprofit and you're donating it, you got to come up with pricing. How do you determine how to price that first product?
Okay, so first off, don't do what I did when I started, right? I was totally wrong with all of this. After spending, nearly a decade in CPG, I figured out the formula. Sweet spot where your COGS, cost of goods sold, is between 20 and 30% of whatever it is that you're selling the product for. Right, so if you're selling a $100 MSRP product that's manufacturer suggested retail pricing, so if it's for $100, you can spend $20-$30, for the cost of goods for that product. Now, where most people mess up this calculation is they don't realize that should be landed cost, right? So
give me an example of that. Give me some numbers.
Yeah, so let me just explain what landed cost is, right? So let's say someone's getting something from China, right? There's going to be costs associated with customs fees, manufacturing, the shipping from the port all the way to your garage, or your basement, or a warehouse if you're lucky enough to have one. So people need to calculate all of that stuff when they come up with their COGS. So, for an example, if you're making a protein product, any whey protein is going to cost anywhere between $12 and $20.
Yep.
Right? The secret in the different price points are going to be flavor systems, quality of the protein will determine your COGS.
Okay. Now, along those pricing, now you said the 20-30%, does that apply to all kinds of CPG, or does it apply to just health and fitness type of things, which you've had a lot of experience in?
So when I say the sweet spot, that's the sweet spot, right? You could be higher, your COGS could be 50%, but you're going to be doing what Amazon did, right? Where Jeff Bezos only cared about getting market share. He didn't care about undercutting everyone. He didn't care about his margins for everything else. The reason that the sweet spot is 20-30% is because you want to spend somewhere between 5 and 20% for marketing. You want to spend somewhere between 5 and 20% for your operational costs, right? And there's a couple other things that go into that formula. I can't just give everything away for free, right?
Yeah, no, we're not paying you yet, at least. So, but if you do get someone paying from the show, I hope I get a commission. No, I'm just playing. Anyways, let's talk about the customer part. So we actually missed a step. We were going to talk about this before, but I got so enthralled with the whole pricing in the first product. So you're launching a product and you figured out the pricing. How do you determine who are the right customers? Like, when you break it down, again, you're in that early level stage.
It's easy, right? If you're going to find a niche in a market, like let's say you're launching something that's going to be gluten-free, your local network of people that actually care about gluten-free products are going to be the first people that are even going to want to try it.
Yep.
Right? Because your name has no brand equity behind it. No one even knows that it exists, but people know who you are. Right? People know that you are sincere in making this. You actually took the step to go ahead and
Okay. What about the situation where, let's say a group of customers are buying this, but they have nothing to do with your core hardcore, you know, audience? Like, let's say you're making a gluten-free bar, but the people who are buying it don't even care about gluten-free, you know, idea at all. How do you know if you should pivot to that audience, or if, you know, maybe it's just a fluke?
I think they teach you this in school, right? ABC. No, that's not from school. That's from the movies, right? Always be closing,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's kind of the school that most of us grew up on anyway when it comes to learning sales. But it doesn't really matter who the customer is, right? You choose how you want to market and talk about your product, right? And you're going to develop your own culture within that market and area. And if you see that the customer base pivots, I mean, there's no reason that you can't make a smart decision and look at that and be like, okay, maybe I should pivot too. I mean, with Shreds, for example, you know, I saw that 70% of our customer base was women, and we had a male fat burner. And, you know, immediately you think, well, I think women care more about losing weight than men do. Maybe we should slap a pink label on this, or maybe we should put some pink capsules and see what happens. And I think literally our sales like 3x or 4x immediately as soon as we had that product. So, I mean, pivoting is a smart choice when there's facts and numbers behind it.
Okay, so let's talk about then you're growing, okay? And I know this is a more fast conversation because I want to get as much data out of you because this is such a good case study kind of conversation. So you're growing, you figure out your market, product market fit, you figured out your customers, let's say, you're making, you know, money. Walk us through when's important to focus on revenues versus profits, or is one always important than the other?
I guess you just have to make a decision on market share, right?
Okay.
Are you trying to earn market share? If you are, then don't worry so much about profit, but make sure that your revenue model is solid because you don't want to be in the red.
Okay.
Right? Unless, of course, you can afford it, which I don't think anyone in this world really can, except for maybe Jeff. But you just have to understand that if you have an investor that's giving you their money, you know, it's really important that you respect their money, right? And you make sure that your revenue model is something that's not losing month over month. And if you're using your own money, I mean, you're gonna shut down in your first year if you're not being cognizant of your revenue model. Net profit, I mean, in an ideal world, you should be making anywhere between 10 and 20% profit on every sale. That's after all your costs. That's after all the fees, the credit card fee, the shipping fees, everything. And I mean, set up your model so that's your goal, right? Now, some people don't incorporate like couponing or discount codes or affiliates. Make sure you include all of that. Right, your worst case scenario should be a 10 to 20% profit.
Okay. When how do you know, I guess, you know, in terms of marketing? So you know, we talked about your early days with Shreds. You figured out that Instagram worked, right? How do you look at the metrics if after doing the campaigns that it was working? Was there a connection with e-commerce? Was it email marketing? Like, how did you do that?
There are more numbers in front of the decimal point in our bank account than there were after it.
That's it.
That's it. Man, when we launched on Instagram, there were no metrics, right? There was no insights. There were no analytics. There was literally nothing. Facebook hadn't bought Instagram at that point, right? So what do we have to work with? I mean, you had some Google Analytics that were going to show you some traffic on certain pages, right? But you couldn't look at behaviors. You couldn't look at where they were clicking. You couldn't look at, you know, what was your conversion rate. I mean, these are all things that happened a few years after we had launched. So, I mean, right now, entrepreneurs have it great in CPG. You can get a stat on literally anything you want, right? How long do they look at a page? What gender are they? How old does Google think that they are? And mind you, Google's pretty smart, right? They're not going to mess up.
Yeah.
Let alone Facebook, Instagram. All these companies have so much data that they're able to provide you all sorts of insights. I think you're a fool if you don't utilize those insights to figure out how to optimize your conversion, how to figure out how to get people to want to come to the page. I mean, it's so much easier now than it used to be.
That makes sense. Okay. No, that's cool. I love that. Let's talk about then when you're beyond just a garage team. You know, you're making products, you're making some money, you know, you're figuring out your revenue model, and you have to build out that dream team. You know,